the Norblin Factory. That's a very important day for us today, and we are happy to see you. If you allow me, I would like to present you the agenda and welcome all our guests. I probably will not be able to list all our guests. I cannot name them all, but let me start with our speakers, representatives of the city, Michał Olszewski, Deputy Mayor of the City of Warsaw. Good morning. Robert Rafałowski, Deputy Mayor of the Vola District. Dieter Lubnik, Head of Investment Banking and Commercial Real Estate Financing Department. PKOSA, one of two institutions which have financed our project. Unfortunately, the representatives of the European investment banks cannot come today. Then we have Igor Galas from the Architectural Office PRC and the representatives of our Capital Park Group, Kinga Nowakowska, board member and operations director in charge of this project, our CEO, Jan Motz, Marcin Juszczyk, board member, and the whole Capital Park team could not be present here, but we have Sylwia Filewicz, the head of investment, and Małgorzata Badzyńska-Trojan, architect, the supervisor of the project. And let me move on to our other guests, our journalists. This is why we've decided to organize this press conference. We invited the representatives of our tenants, and if you would like to give more details after this official part, you can try to reach out to them or during the tour of the meeting. First, the manager of KinoGram, then Małgorzata Wyczółkowska, Bio Bazar, and a strong team from Food Town. I don't know if we have the people from Piano Bar. I haven't seen Vlado. Probably he will join us for the tour and he will show you the Piano Bar rooms. Joanna Kowalkowska, Art Book Experience, and Jacek Łupina. Yeah, you're very well hidden. Good morning. And unfortunately, Tomasz Maciurkowski, Orange Theory Fitness, is he with us or not? He is not. Probably he will join us later on. So let me start with the substance. We will give you some more details about the project, then we will have a question and answer session, and we will be available in online streaming. So if you have questions, you can either ask them here or remotely, and I will read them out, and I will hand over to our CEO, Jan Motz. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much to all those who have made a great contribution to the construction of this Noblin project. We have the whole day dedicated to the history of our project, and our idea, it took us 13 years, so quite long. However, I do believe that we've made something of a new quality in our city, along with Koszyki or Powiśle Elektrownia or Browary. This is another project, a unique project in this part of Europe. Just one more thing. I forgot the representatives of companies involved in the rehabilitation of the monument service, and our conservation supervision, 2 people. Now everybody's there. Now I move on to Michał Olszewski, the Deputy Mayor of the City of Warsaw. The floor is yours. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, CEO was quite short, and I don't know if I'm able to stick to the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been involved in architecture, in Warsaw architecture for long, and the Norblin Factory was among one of our ideas, and I'm happy to see that the project has already been implemented. I couldn't sleep at night, because the project was not easy, and there were ups and downs, turns and twists. I don't want to make Hollywood comparisons, but it could be a good film scenario, and the CEO during the evening could share with you some stories on the revitalization of the whole complex. So let me congratulate the whole company and the CEO, the deputy CEO. I know this was not an easy task, and it's because of its historic value, it's because of its location, and the dynamic of all the projects which came up along the way. You know, I'm sure, the Bio Bazar brand. It's also a brand close to my heart, and it's very closely linked to the project, and I'm happy that some brands have been built before even the project has been completed, and I hope they will become a strong magnet for city population. This is yet another project of post-industrial rehabilitation, and I can only quote a great Danish architect, Jan Gell, who said that the great architecture is the gauge of the great architecture is the frequency of its use. So I wish you that a lot of people, as many people as possible, would use the Norblin Factory. These are my personal wishes. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. If you stay here till the end, we will have a surprise for you. As someone that I know you like bikes, not scooters. Thank you very much. And now Mr. Robert Daworski, Deputy Mayor of Vola District. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the management of the district and on my own behalf, I would like to say that I am proud that there is such a place on the map of Warsaw and in the Vola district. This is another place in our district that shows how the city, how the district cooperates, how we cooperate with the inhabitants, and how this can be done in a really nice way. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to give thanks for the whole construction process. The investor who was investing for so many years in this place showed really great cooperation with the city, and also showed how to restore the history of this place, because this was a historical location existing for ages already. And in cooperation with the restoration architect, we managed to keep many different elements, machines, and other equipment that fit the history of this place. I would like to really thank you for that. We also managed to restore the buildings. It was my pleasure to be here during the construction phase, and I thank you for inviting me, because I was able to see how the buildings were moved, how it was restored, and how proud we can be of the outcome. What is also important is the restoration of greenery. It was not easy because this is a densely built over urban area, but we do have some greenery planted. We have plane trees that will provide this sense of lightness to the atmosphere. What I would like to also add is that the investor goes beyond its just obligations. We have not only the building, but owing to the cooperation with the inhabitants and residents, we have the street that regained its character. The old paving was found under the asphalt, and we managed to encourage the investor to restore the pavement, the parking spots, the driveways will display some of this old pavement. So I can say that we have another place on the map of Warsaw that I would like to be alive, that I would like to be a place where people will visit, will enjoy their stay here. I hope that despite the pandemic, this will be another place where we will be able to meet with people and enjoy life together. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite Dieter Liebning, the Director of Investment Banking and Real Estate Financing from PKO.
Hello, everyone. Before coming here, I checked my emails, and the first email I received about Noblin was on the 7th of December 2012, 9 years ago.
Tuż przed przyjściem tutaj dzisiaj na tą uroczystość postanowiłem sprawdzić skrzynkę mailową dotyczącą tego projektu i okazuje się, że pierwszy mail w sprawie Norblina otrzymałem 9 lat temu, 7 grudnia.
So that means that's how long we have been a team with Capital Park, or started to work on it, but very soon became a team.
Cały ten okres pokazuje, jak długo jesteśmy jednym zespołem z Capital Park. Wcześniej to była współpraca, później już współpraca prawdziwie zespołu.
And here I would like to thank everyone, including also our banking partners from the European Investment Bank, because in big projects like this, there are always some difficulties.
Dlatego z tego miejsca chciałbym wszystkim podziękować, również naszym partnerom finansowym z Europejskiego Banku Inwestycyjnego, zwłaszcza, że przy tak rozległych projektach zawsze zdarzają się trudności.
And we managed these difficulties together quite well, and therefore, you know, I would like to thank again for this kind of open communication and cooperation.
Ale wspólnie udało nam się te trudności przezwyciężyć, stąd za tą współpracę i otwartą komunikację dzisiaj dziękuję.
Now, what I personally like about this project, it's not a building, it's a concept.
Co ja najbardziej lubię w tym projekcie, nie same budynki, ale koncepcje.
Evidenced by the fact that I also have a picture of this building in my office.
Na dowód tego mogę powiedzieć, że obraz tych budynków wisi również w moim biurze.
And now the last personal anecdote. I think it fits extremely well into the skyline, into Warsaw, because it's again something special.
Uważam, że ten projekt świetnie wpisuje się w Warszawę i w tę lokalną kolorystykę.
Last week I sent a picture from the rooftop here, which I made to some colleagues, friends, and they all said, "Wow, really? This is in Warsaw?"
Muszę powiedzieć, że w zeszłym tygodniu zrobiłem zdjęcie tutaj z dachu budynku i wysłałem je swoim znajomym w innych krajach i naprawdę efekt był wow, nie wierzyli, że to Warszawa.
So thank you again, and hope you continue finding new spots to revitalize, to put some new life into it. Thank you.
Jeszcze raz dziękuję i mam nadzieję, że będą Państwo znajdować kolejne miejsca do rewitalizacji i przywracania im życia.
Dziękujemy bardzo.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Igor Galas, an architect and partner in PSR Architects, the designer of the whole comprehensive complex. Igor, I apologize before you start because I forgot to mention the contractors, but I didn't see them come. So let me just mention them now. The representatives of Warbut, Artur Jerzewski, Agnieszka Wąsowska. I don't know whether they are here with us. They are. A great welcome to you, our main contractor. Soletange Company, are they here? Yes, I can see they're with us. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And we should also have Mat 4 Company. Yes, they are with us. Welcome. And sorry for this delay in introducing you. I hope that I haven't skipped anyone, but if I have, I apologize in advance. Now, Igor, something about architectural challenges. Good morning, my name is Igor Galas, and it's my honor to represent Perth's Architects Office, that was the general designer and architect of the Norblin Factory. And my task is to tell you not about the project itself. I don't know whether you can hear me.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yes, it's fine now. So not about the project itself and its details, its structure, but to tell you about some challenges that we've had. As has been said already by Mr. Motz, Capital Park started this project 13 years ago. We were invited 10 years ago, so this is a decade of work over this project. This is the most difficult project that we've had. And I think that also one of the most difficult ones in Poland that was implemented over the past years. And one of the major challenges in this project was its specificity and location. This is a post-industrial complex of 10 buildings that are protected by the historical restoration office, and it's in the very center of Warsaw, because the center of Warsaw is moving towards the west. So this is 10 historical buildings, and apart from their restoration, we also had a very comprehensive program of the investor, containing the vision of what they were expecting from our team. So this complex was supposed to have many functions, services, retail, gastronomy, office, and exhibitions. And the whole project covered 68,000 square meters of usable area to be leased. So this was one of the largest projects here in Poland and also in Europe. So the combination of all these elements in one unified whole, both historical buildings and revitalized area, blending them together so that none would dominate the others, but rather that each would retain its individual character, constituted a significant challenge. So the buildings are separate, like for example the foundry shop, that is building number 25 along the Prosta Street, or the former laboratory building, that is building number 26. And also the separate buildings that are adjacent to the new structure now, like the tube pointer shop and metallurgy laboratory, Plus, there are also some buildings in the basement, namely post-industrial buildings of drawing shop and other former industrial shops. So, what you can see right now on this slide is the details of the ground floor. And as you can see, even this picture shows you the incredible diversity of the buildings. I counted that there are 15 of them, and they differ in their autonomy. We have separate buildings, and also those that are adjacent to the new structure, and also those that are in the basement of the new structure. The new structure also is very complex because one of the most difficult things was to restore the basement part, which has a really unusual shape. You can see the dotted lines that circle the historical buildings. So the basement had to stay clear of the historical buildings, because historical buildings that are first pulled down and then put together, they lose their historical status. So we had to work on the basement in such a way as to keep the historic character of the buildings. Some of these buildings are kind of overstepping on the basement, but one of them was moved so that we would be able to structure the basement as we had planned. Now this is a cross-section of the basement part, and the basement part is very significant for the Noblin Factory because, as I have said, the location has some difficult aspects, and the Noblin Factory is very close to the main thoroughfares of the city, and the traffic could only be carried out by allowing the traffic underground. And we have an underground parking lot for 700 cars and also for a lot of bikes. We are right now in the cinema room on level 2 of the building that we called A building, or building A. For me, this building is interesting because it is an example of the main challenge of the project, because in its cross-section it focuses very different functions, very different requirements that had to be put together to form a coherent whole without obliterating the separateness of each of the parts. The cinema is located over the industrial plants, industrial shops, and you can see it in its structure. And in order not to impair the integrity of the industrial shops, and not to interfere in their structure with columns, we had to do some shifting so that these shops could remain in their original characters. So there was a need to design the
Dalej mamy kino.
the ceiling
Również wpletliśmy 7
that
sal
would have a
kinowych w
special
układ
structure.
O ile to funkcjonowało,
And the cinema is
40
placed on the
funkcjonowało
whole
konstrukcyjnie ze sobą,
network of supports.
w miarę poprawnie, to pod
In
nami
order
jest
for them to work
poziomów,
correctly,
biur, których
because we have
wymagania
8
konstrukcyjne są zupełnie
floors
inne.
of office
W tym celu
buildings
nad
that
nami
have
dokładnie
very
jest strop
different structural
transferowy,
requirements. So we
ponadmetrowej
have
grubości,
a
monolityczny strop
transfer
żelbetowy, który niesie
ceiling
fundament
over
powierzchni,
1
niesie
meter
nową siatkę
thick
słupów, jeżeli chodzi o część biurową.
that has the construction pillars
Tak
for the
złożony
office
układ
part.
konstrukcyjny, użytkowy, oczywiście
So this
niesie ze sobą
configuration,
równie złożony układ
of course,
instalacyjny.
entails complexity in the installation for the building. They have to be, of course, modern, but they have to be separate for separate functions. So, for example, for gastronomy and for the cinema and for the office area. In order to meet the challenge, we have dispersed machinery rooms, both on the roof and also inside the building. This is another cross-section that shows you the view from Łódzka Street and Prosta Street. That shows you the underground part that was neighboring this historical industrial shop. So you can see the wall that could only have been built after moving the historical building.
To jest poziom taki pośredni, poziom
This is an intermediary level, +1 level.
To jest poziom kinowy.
And this is the cinema level where we currently are. And you can see 7 cinema rooms. You can see installation ducts that had to be placed in such a way as not to impair the integrity of historical shops below. And this is one of the typical office stories. 40,000 square meters of Class A office area. Very modern, and as you will find out later, we have the best companies as our tenants. I would also like to say a few words regarding another challenge for our architectural office, namely creating an interdisciplinary team for the implementation of this project. Such a project doesn't happen often, and nobody has a ready-made recipe. So it took us a long time and a long time of research to figure out what we needed in terms of materials, decisions, studies, and how to obtain these things. It is my pleasure to name the following companies from many others who contributed to the final effect that you can see now. And I would like to name our partners, designers, WSP Polska. They designed the installation, the construction, Ford Polska. So these are two main teams, which designed the project from the conceptual phase to the tender phase. And I would also like to thank my colleagues, designers from companies who worked for the main investor. And I've got to mention that one of the biggest challenges was working in the design and build regime for the main investor, Walbud, and I would like to thank my colleagues from the technical department of Walbud, also TKT Engineering, the installation company, that developed the design of all cabling, that is MAT4.
Chciałbym podziękować dwóm osobom.
I would also like to
że jestem w tym miejscu,
thank
mam zaszczyt
two
przed
people
takim szacownym gronem wystąpić.
because I have this opportunity to stand before you today, and it's been a long way for me personally. And I would like to thank our CEO, Jan Motz,
Powierzył,
who
zaufał nam, dlatego,
trusted
że,
us.
To jest wielkie wyzwanie dla każdego. Podjąć się
Despite
takiego
it being a big
Oczywiście nie był to
challenge.
pierwszy wielki projekt,
Of course,
jaki
this
miałem
was
przyjemność
not the first large project that we had a pleasure to work on for Capital Park, but this project is really exceptional. And I would like to give special thanks to the spiritus movens of this project, Mrs. Kinga Noakowska, who asked this question, like, why wouldn't you join the project? I remember that day very well. That was over 10 years ago.
która uświadomiła mi, że
She made me realize that designing the project is one thing. Well, construction is another thing. It's not easy. But creating a concept and the awareness of the city with the district managers and among all the stakeholders who can influence such a project. So that makes you realize what a large PR project it was. Also from the financial perspective, I was only able to find that out when I was observing what Kinga Noakowska was doing. So thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you, Kinga, you couldn't have gotten a better introduction. So Kinga Noakowska, the member of the board operational director.
Well, I will miss you. I will miss you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain in my own words what our project has been about. Let me start by the beginning. In 2008, we bought 2 hectares located in the heart of a capital city. It looked like that. And the Polish Mint Company, our neighbor, was located there, but looked differently than today. And in 2008, we started the works. Then the another milestone was 2011. The PRC office, our architects decided to work with us, and the land development permit was issued, and they started to work in 2011. In 2012, after 4 years, we agreed the conservation works plan. We worked with 3 conservation officers. The building permit was issued in 2014. We show you the photos from that day, and the construction works were launched in 2017. And 1 year later, the shift of the building mentioned by Igor took place. That was the major and the huge challenge of the whole construction project. And in April this year, we received the occupancy permit. And on behalf of the investor, I would like to thank all key actors. So Igor Galas and his architectural team, under his helmet, they managed this part of works. Warbut, our general constructor, Zaletange Polska, foundations, specialized foundations were made by them. Don't forget, we only have a slight difference between the height above and below the ground, and it was quite complicated. A mat for the design of all installation, KAT Engineering, the sanitary and mechanical installation designer, and last but not least, Monument Service, close to my heart, in charge of our restoration and conservation works on the site. There were more than 100 conservation specialists working at the site at some point of time, and there are some other people people who marked the story of this project, Sylwia Filewicz and Małgosia Badzyńska-Trojan, two key people. Sylwia is the head of our development function, and I cannot name all the people involved in the project. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. I'm happy that we can enjoy our project, the final outcome of our project today. The offices, all office services, 40,000 square meters already leased, and all tenancy agreements were signed before the occupancy permit was issued. That's extraordinary. That's an amazing achievement. We see that we are appreciated by the market, and that's also a great success of our tenancy department. What are our tenants? Well, first of all, Allegro, Japan Tobacco International, CEB Bank, and ISS. These are our key tenants. Let me now move to the entertainment, culture, and retail and service spaces. Now we've signed the tenancy agreement for more than 62% of the usable space, and new negotiations are underway, and I'm sure in incoming days we'll be able to communicate on new interesting tenancies. We hope that these new places will have an impact on this area, on the life of Warsawians. And let me move to the movie theater. This is our authorship project, and Ania Czol is the head of this cinema. Tomorrow we will have the Transatlantic Festival, the start of this Transatlantic Festival, first time in Warsaw. There are 7 small theaters, and the Polish Directors Guild has its meeting here, and we have an Oscar. You can see the original in room number 7. It's a deposit from A.P. Kaczmarek, who was awarded for his music to the movie Dreamer. So there is a whole cultural life organized around these facilities. I'm going to mention our foundation and the agenda of other cultural events. That's the very core of our identity. We also have Bio Bazar, which after several years moved to the original location. It's 7,000 agri-farmers and small retailers ready 5 days a week to sell their product. It's one of the largest spaces of the kind in Warsaw, more than 1,800 square meters. 11th anniversary was celebrated last weekend, and Michał Tuczyłowski is the chef there. Now Food Town, one of the largest food courts in Poland, 23 different concepts, food concepts, various world cuisines and bars managed by Tomek Małek, and one room dedicated to events, artistic events and concerts. So the live is on 24 hours a day, and you were kindly invited to join. Let me show you some more photos, and don't forget that we've opened on 22nd of October, so it's just a month, and a lot of things have already happened and have already been organized in Food Town. And the piano bar, that's the monument located at the corner between Żelazna and at Żelazna Street. This building dates back from the time of Franciszek Ryks, the butler of King Poniatowski. It's a bar with live music, with really beautiful interiors, and believe me, the party is on until the early hours of the morning. And now some concepts. Have a look, flower shop, MAP, alcohol, and others. And still in this quarter, the fourth quarter, we will open new POSs, the authorship concept with craft beer, then glass manufacturer, and Tashka, one of the museum operators, of our museum operators, and office doctor. With the provision of safe services for the whole building. In the first quarter 2022, in the alley we will open the restaurant Soul Food, Blue Cactus, Paradisos. These are the leading tenants, plus Wiśniewski with an excellent cherry vodka, and will be located here. Orange Theory Fitness, that's another tenant, and Radio New Ones, which is now moving to the Norblin Factory in January 2022. In February 2022, there will be two important openings for Warsawians, Art Book Experience and Apple Museum, two important players for, let's say, the educational and cultural art side of the Norblin Factory. The first is the first digital museum, art museum in Warsaw with special effects based on the old Noblin Factory, and it will be launched in February 2022. And Apple Museum is the only museum of the kind in this part of Europe, with 1,500 exhibits, an amazing collection, everything that has ever been produced by Apple, and everything still works, including the first computer of 1975. It will be a great treat for all brand lovers who used these old Apple computers, and for our children. We will be able to show them our IT past. Next openings, Medicover Stomatologia in the second quarter of 2022, and our co-working concept, Be Creative, which is a shared co-working function with and conference function. The first present now in Wilanów, and now we will add the conference function, the combined conference center and co-working space. These were the photos of our Be Creative. And now let me move to the foundation in order to pursue the tradition of Werner and family, and Noblin family, the silver-plated objects were basically the utility objects. So in order to continue the tradition of art and design, we've set up the foundation, which supports young artists in cinema, poster, painting, or music. Music Masterclass is our flagship project with Hania Rani, Smolik, Natalia Przybysz, Marek Napiórkowski, or Adam Sztaba, who are, let's say, the tutors for our young musicians. And on Patronite, we'll also have a scholarship co-financed by the company, and the singles of these young people will be released. Remember these faces. We organized the photo shoot. This will be the future stars of the Polish music scene. We also had an exhibition and a competition, poster competition. Don't forget that the Noblin family had Pierre Noblin, the famous painter, and whose paintings are now exposed at the National Museum. There is also Stefan Noblin, whose works are now located at Wilanów Poster Museum. We organized this competition with the Academy of Fine Arts in Warsaw, and you see basically the concept and the associations that our students have about platters, about plated, silver-plated goods, and this factory. We also used our factory dollies, and we made benches out of them. There are 3 awarded designs implemented by us, one with metal elements, another one with wooden elements, and yet another one with concrete elements, in order to use the diversity of materials. You will see that during the tour of the factory. And the last event, the level -2, you could admire very interesting works based on old factory doors. It's about doors recovery or doors reconstruction. Again, the project organized with the Academy of Fine Arts. 12 students were involved in that, and they were just used old Noblin doors for their works. So there is an interesting link with the history with this faculty. Wojciech Jastrzębowski was the founder of the Academy of Fine Arts and the department within the Fine Arts, and he was also one of the major designers of silver-plated elements for the Noblin Factory. As you could see, the art counts a lot for us. The foundation opened a new festival of so-called Last Things. That's a special artistic venture intended to become more accustomed to death, to domesticate death, and it attracted a huge amount of people, and we believe we will have some more additions in the future. Let art live. That's our slogan, and I'm sure that you saw art everywhere and that you saw the mural by Edward Dwornik, who is a welcoming sign and encourages people to get in. That's a painting made in 2009, representing the Noblin Factory, and we did it with the acceptance of Pola Dwornik, his daughter, and she also made another work at the level -1, and then -2. When you go down, you will see a new painting by Tytus Brzozowski, and you see him with the mural presenting the Noblin Factory. We are eco. Deputy Mayor of Vola district said that. That's why we planted a lot of vegetation. We have the very good BREEAM certification, and now we are going to undergo all the tests required, and that we will keep this certificate as the used facility. You see the terrace. We've planted 104 trees and hundreds of climbers and shrubs. Before, these were industrial facilities with contaminated soil, and now there is a comeback of greenery, and it was a major element for us. And that's the surprise, an automatic underground bicycle parking, the only one, and you will see the box already there, and in spring you will have 95 places, and there is an electric box to be used. You have the QR code, you get the QR code, the bicycle goes down, and then with the QR code you get your bike back, and the charger for electric cars, 6 of them, which you can use to fill up every vehicle in 30 minutes. It's a bird-friendly facility, and we worked with the bird patrol, so that's why we put special signs on the glasses to protect the birds. And we also have small birds' houses on the site. And the last element I would like to mention is Noblin App. More than 20,000 people have downloaded the app already. It's everything about the Norblin Factory in a pocket with all information on amenities, possibility to buy a ticket for a concert, also to shop at the Bio Bazar or to go to the cinema. It's also a useful tool for people who work here and use their mobile access card, or for suppliers who would basically book the delivery space and the ramps in the application. As you know, in this part of the city, it's not always easy to deliver. And the app also includes the museum, and the museum will be presented by Artur Setniewski. Artur, to you.
Thank you, Kinga. Artur Setniewski, who always says that he has been with the project for the longest time. I don't know whether it's true, but he says that he was here with the land. Maybe this was exactly the case. So Artur will tell you shortly about the restoration works and about the Noblin Factory Museum. Recently, we were at the restoration conference with Monument Service with Małgorzata Bodońska-Trojan, and the presentation took 1 hour. We don't have so much time today, but for those who are passionate about restoration work, we invite you to dig in deeper. But now, shortly about the history of the Noblin Factory and the museum. Well, I have been working in Noblin for 16 years. That is 3 years longer than the project of Capital Park. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 historical buildings that date back to the end of the 18th century, and the youngest are the 20th and 30th of the 20th century. And of course, the buildings are post-industrial shops, foundries, hardening shops, but also administrative buildings and housing buildings. So they were based on the foundations like the tenement house of Franciszek. I cannot go into that because I would take too long. So we also have the machines of the rolling shop. So we have a lot of references to pre-war history of Noblin and Werner brothers, because this is their pre-war name. We have 50 machines, 50 different pieces of equipment, kilns, also straighteners, cabling equipment, rod equipment. From the end of the 19th century. And you can see a real star of the collection. This is the hydraulic battery from the end of the 19th century. So there were many of them in Europe, but now there are just 4 remaining. The restoration work encompassed a lot. And I would like to tell you in advance that I will be giving thanks. Ewa Sowa-Mróz, Janusz Mróz, they were supervising the restoration work. Also, Monument Service, I am looking at Michał Bogusławski, the manager of the project, and Maciej Czyński, supervising the restoration works. From the very beginning, we were working with the officials supervising historical buildings, and we selected 2 restoration strategies, namely some of the facilities were subjected to full restoration, and some of them were just subject to conservation, so that people would be able to see the marks of history, the marks of war that can be seen in the facilities. In this picture, you see in the top right corner one of my favorite machines. That is the roll straightener for rods. Really nice structure. We left the paintwork. I know this may seem controversial, but I would like to thank Kinga and Jan again that they trusted me on this. Apart from the 50 machines and pieces of equipment that are in the register of historical objects, there are elements that are not in the register, but that were equally treated with equal care. And here we need to enumerate railway tracks and doorways that are now converted into benches and that you can see between the different shops. So there are many more elements that were subject to restoration. We just selected 600 of them. Some of them are coming back to us right now after restoration, and these include the doors that Kinga was talking about, plus a lot of wooden elements and other elements prepared by silversmiths that are right now decorating the facilities of our tenants. As regards the museum, we wanted it to be modern, but we didn't want its modernity to obliterate the history. So what is most important for us is that the people would really see the factory, see the plants, the shops, because the history of the factory is very rich indeed, and we were looking for some solutions to render it. So we divided the museum into 4 parts. One is buildings and architecture, the machinery and equipment, and artifacts. And now I would like to thank Adam Leja, who helped us a lot in developing the collection that we have. A collection of silver-plated objects and silver objects. And we owe to him a very nice sightseeing route that shows everything that was produced in Noblin. Now, something about people. It was hard to tackle this subject. Of course, these are people connected with the factory. So we decided to name the routes with the names of these people. We have the path of Ludwig Noblin, where you can find out not just about Ludwig Noblin himself, but about the Noblin family, about their connection, family members, and different relatives. We have 3 tour guides, or rather 3 forms of sightseeing. We have the app, that we want to be the main guide for the visitors to the museum. We also have brochures, and we have traditional museum guides. And you can see them here. We apologize, the train is late. Yes, they are looking as if they were taken from that era. So Albertina Werner and her husband Theodor, or rather brother-in-law. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Please have a look at our tour guides. Albertina Werner and Ludwig Knoblin will give you a tour of the whole complex.
Now we move on to the question-answer session, so please be patient. We just put the chairs here to our speakers. Katarzyna Kuchalska is with us, and you could buy the ticket to the museum and learn more about the museum from Kasia right now. You can just wait, please. Kinga, Igor, Artur. I have one question from online streaming. I believe that at least two of them were answered, but I will repeat. Tomasz Hamberko, what's the tenancy rate and the lease rate for retail and office space? So it was before you said that. And do you plan any new openings at the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022? I believe you said that too. And there is one more question which would probably require some more reflections. Does the project meet the investment expectations of the group? We had huge ambitions, so we were not that much surprised by the success, but we are really surprised by the tenancy rate. We were a little bit concerned and worried, however, the tenants were really interested. You will be surprised when all the concepts will be present with Artbox Experience, Apple Museum, and some other concepts which I cannot reveal to you right now. At that moment, it will become a leading leisure space in Warsaw. So please come. Together with your friends and your family. If you are here, we will be really satisfied. At -1 for 3 months, we will plan the exhibition of some iconic vehicles of the value of more than 50 million zlotys, and that would be yet another reason to visit this place. Now, questions from the room.
Dzień dobry, Tomasz Zapek, tygodnik Gazety Warszawa i Dziennik Związkowy Chicago.
Tomasz Zapek. I'm really glad that the Norblin Factory is back to life. I have a question on the theatre. There was Scena Prezentacji Theatre existing in this building for 30 years. Do you have any plans to continue this tradition? Why don't you have any theatre in your plans? We had this theatre in our plans, and the building permit also had a part for the theatre scene, and we worked very closely with Director Szejda, who is no more among us, and the theatre group dissolved and does not exist, and Director Shade was with us, and he actually talked about the history of the factory, and he talked about his theatre. However, this theatre does not exist. Thank you. Anybody else would like to ask something? Please. Adam Tetzław, what's the percentage of the original substance has been preserved? I saw your presentation and I see a number of changes, so more or less, what's the percentage of the revitalized part and the original substance, comparing to the baseline when you started the project? 99%, I would say. There are different things which cannot be preserved when the functionality changes. And that's, for instance, the door in all the carpentry, we had to replace all of that, the original locks or carpentry. Now, these are decorations, but actually these parts did not meet the building standards of today. These were the insulation item, waterproofing items, but these were not the items intended to stop or regulate the temperature in the production halls and where the furnaces were located. And we knew that back then in the history there were moments when there were minus 20 degrees outside and plus 20 degrees inside. So for carpentry, for doors, for windows, for locks, we had to replace them. However, 99% of the substance, all the holes, machines and devices, I think I could relaunch the production according to the old processes. I know that I'm not allowed, but I could do it. So it's 99%. Anybody else? So, I see you're wondering. There is one more question. Rafał Krzycki. I would like to know more about food hall and the food tissue, the new tissue. How many concepts are going to be open? So what's the number of the food concepts now, and what is the final number of the food concepts to be present here? So let me start with the food town, and then Kinga will add details. We have right now 20 concepts open, and 3 will open in December. It's just the question of finishing works, and there are 4 bars, and 1 more is planned. So that's how we are activating the food hall. And there is 1 more bistro at the Bio Bazar, so yet another food concept, and there will be 3 more restaurants. And in the casting room, we will have a sort of a fusion cuisine combined with live music. And the live music is part of our DNA, and you will come across that live music everywhere. It's here in the movie theater, at the Bio Bazar, and at the concert hall, at the Bio Bazar, and in some other concepts. So there is something for everybody, and the food concepts are among the leading force, and they coexist and will coexist with some other entertainment concepts. And the bistro bar is a very interesting concept. It opened on the 11th anniversary of Bio Bazar. It was back on Saturday, and actually they cook food out of the raw materials sold at Bio Bazar. Do you have any other questions? We will stay with you, so probably you would like to ask some questions after this official part. So what's the plan of the game? You will have a short tour with our guides, Albertina and Ludwig. You will see the key sightseeing points. So if we have no questions, we will meet there downstairs in the lobby, and when you are ready, and after, then you can come back here upstairs, have some hot tea. Thank you very much to all of you, those present here and the participants of our streaming, and it will be available on our YouTube channel to replay, and we encourage you to ask some further questions if there are any. And when you leave the building, you will get the tour guide. I don't know how large the group will be, but just to hear well what Artur Sypniewski is going to say, please take this small device with you. Thank you.